Sam, can you hear me? Okay.
You saw the way
Does
kind of look my sleep.
Steal the comfy chair while somebody else gets. I still haven't gotten a final proposal from you.
I know. I got to figure out numbers. Well, times that I really pulled up. We did say we're gonna leave the two line and those open. So that's what I just got, that all from this session. So we got all that kind of zeroed out. And it is there, everything. And I have, those responses.
It'll be Bill. If it's not my hat, it's my jacket.
No, absolutely.
I just need not to do that. So I do it because I will figure it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for April 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Would we please have roll call?
Commissioner Drosky,
Here.
Commissioner Parnas.
Here.
Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Vice Mayor Huda.
Here.
And Mayor Dennis.
Here. If we could please have everyone stand for a moment of silence and our pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We could have acknowledgement of the city board meeting minutes for the pending and zoning meeting for the minutes of March 3rd, 2022.
So move.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The approval of our agenda for tonight, April 19th, 2022. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, second by Commissioner Parnas. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Madam Clerk?
For members of the public wishing to provide comments during tonight's meeting, 3 minutes will be provided. However, 1 additional minute can be granted by Mayor Gates. Anyone connected online via Zoom video must cover the mouse at the bottom of the screen. Click the participants tab on the right, click raise hand. You'll be recognized by your profile name and your audio will be unmuted. For those participating via mobile or landline, dial *9 to raise your hand. You will be recognized by the last 3 digits of your number. Dial *6 if necessary to unmute. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Our first item is a certificate of appreciation in recognition to our city public affairs and marketing team for their exemplary work on recent public service announcements, features, and promotional videos, which have nabbed them several distinguished recognitions that we're very proud of. The Audiovisual Arts Awards, which is the foundation that honors excellence in digital creativity, branding, and strategy, has awarded our city public affairs and marketing team the following 4 honors. The gold winner of 2022 for its Ocean Rescue RIP Current Safety 2021 video. Our gold winner for 2022's Deerfield Beach Junior Anglers Day for 2021. Honorable mention for 2022 for the Underwater Fish Camp, the September 21st recap. Our honorable mention also for 2022 for the Time to Thrive Deerfield Beach, which captured the struggle that local businesses were having during the COVID-19 pandemic. By the way, all of these videos are still available on our city's social media platforms. You can check them out. The Audiovisual Awards is an international competition that recognizes excellence by creative professionals responsible for the planning, concept, direction, design, and production of digital communication. We are grateful for the time and dedication of this staff and the excellent job they do. They are truly some of the unsung heroes here in Deerfield Beach. So Rebecca Medina Stewart, Dave Hunt, and Janine Penoyer, thank you so much for all of your work.
Yes. Thank you so much. Is it take his own picture?
There's a time limit for you, Rebecca, so I'll make sure.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate this wonderful honor. Nothing that we do, or I should say everything we do is as a team, and we couldn't get anything done if it weren't for our team. And so I'm really grateful for these guys, and I'm very grateful to all of you for giving me resources and the ability to do what we do, allowing us to be creative. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Next, we have a certificate of recognition for someone who's very, very special here in the city of Deerfield Beach. Lenore Graver, we'd like to thank her for her years of dedication and service as the code compliance manager for the city of Deerfield Beach. Mrs. Lenore Graver is certified in the Florida Association Code Enforcement levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. Volunteers at the Salem Youth Fair, helping children during and after bus drop-off. Started with the city of Deerfield Beach in 2015 as a code inspector. She was then promoted to our senior code inspector, and she was promoted from her current role of code manager last year. Mrs. Lenore's valuable contributions helped to create and coordinate the city's nuisance abatement program, addressing blighted areas and for the health, life, and safety violations on properties here in the city of Deerfield Beach. She coordinated a process with the building department and code to address over 800 properties needing 40 to 50 year structural certification in a short period of time. Mrs. Graver is part of the Broward Community Response Team in collaboration with law enforcement, medical and educators as it relates to substance abuse, youth, and community crisis situations. This is a thankless job, but someone we are so incredibly thankful for. And I'm going to embarrass her a little bit more. We'd like to bring up Bernard P. to talk a little bit about Nora Graver and all her contributions to the city of Deerfield Beach. We cannot thank her enough for her hard work. Code enforcement is a very difficult position to be in. And to have someone that has a true heart and soul out there in the public dealing with people, we've been truly, truly blessed to have you, Bernard. So thank you so much. Bernard, let's embarrass her a little bit more.
That's okay, sir. Thank you. So I'm Bernard Pita. I'm the director of code, and we started here in the city of Deerfield Beach back in 2015. I have a big mouth, so I'm going to turn around and talk. So basically, in 2015, we started here.
But
and
actually, we're going to have you talk right into the mic. Because
Okay.
as much of a big mouth you have, they can't hear you online.
So basically, we came here in 2015, and we started servicing the community. And one thing that I noticed right off the bat, Deerfield was kind of special because everybody you made contact with was very involved, very engaged, very passionate and compassionate here in the city. And I started noticing in every district that I worked with, that it was all about hands-on. It was like a big city, but with a small town feel. And I needed a right-hand person, and I chose Lenore because she is very passionate about serving people. She's proven that over the years being here in Deerfield, and made a lot of connections within the community with the people, because she's very passionate about serving people. And she's stepped up to the plate when I haven't been around. And she's always in the community. She has relationships. There's actually some residents here that came for this here because they knew she was going to be recognized and everything. But y'all giving us the opportunity, the way she shows her appreciation is giving it back to the community and doing her part in that. And anything that the city needs, she's available for everybody here, no matter what. And we're just thankful for this opportunity. So
Thank you so much. Lenore, we'd love to have you come on up.
I am speechless. Oh my gosh. I do this job every day, truly, from my heart. I have a team of people that Bernard and I have created a culture with the team that is like no other. I mean, they just want to know every day what they can do to help, how they can serve, what's the right way, how they can, knock on someone's door, and just what they can do to really try and help the community. I enjoy working in Deerfield. Ever since the first day I got here, I have really felt a part of the community here. I'm touched that several people that I know have come. The Cuban Cafe, Miggy Cuban Cafe, brought coffee and empanadas for everyone to help themselves. I'm just so touched by this. I mean, it is a hard job and it's not rewarding every day, but I have my own rewards. It's rewarding to me inside. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the mentors that I've had here and everybody that supports me. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you so very much.
We're grateful, Lenore. Thank you. I'm going to bring up Chief Adam Hofstein to do our next round of embarrassment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, distinguished commissioners, Mr. City Manager, and citizens of Deerfield Beach. It's my pleasure to be up here to provide that embarrassment. The good news is I'm going to do all the embarrassment for you. No one's going to have to come up and speak except me. So I thank you very much for the honor to be up here in one valuable time. Often the chief comes up here and just talks about numbers. And fortunately, they're very good numbers here in Deerfield Beach. We're very proud of the public safety services we provide, and we do provide good results. But I feel badly because I feel like I'm always the one up here taking the credit for it. And it's important to recognize the people that are really doing the hard work and bring them out from behind the scenes. Because these are the folks that are out there 24/7, rain or shine. I know the post office says it, but we really do it. They never stop working. They never stop keeping this community safe. I have to raise this up. Excuse me. So I'm just my absolute pleasure and honor to be here. And it's a win-win. Not only do I get to honor them, but you do have the safest commission meeting tonight ever in the history of the city commission. So please, sir, don't get used to this. It's tough on our resources. So what I'm going to do here, we're just playing a little bit of catch up. That's why there's so many folks here tonight. But there's so many folks here that are worthy of honoring. And I do want to point out
This is about maybe 10%, 15% tops of the entire police force that you have here. But although their distinguished actions on the line of duty are being recognized tonight, they really are representative of all the folks here at BSO Fire and Police that are working very, very hard and diligently to keep everyone safe. So without further ado, I'm going to start with our January 2022. These are our employees of the month, or deputies of the month, if you will. And the following deputies would please step forward. Deputy Richard Atenito, Deputy Mark Ballatori, Deputy David Bolderson, and Detective Nicholas Gray. Now, some are here in the flesh and some due to operational reasons are joining us virtually. If you're online, thank you. So these are the folks. And also, formerly known as Sergeant, now I'm honored to introduce him as Lieutenant Jonathan Camella. So, Lieutenant Camella, of course, he was the patrol sergeant at the time. I'm happy to say he's been promoted, and rightfully so. So these folks, what they did is, look, we know the scourge on our streets, and we work very hard to combat it on a regular basis. And one of those scourges that we deal with are those car burglars, those prolific car burglars that while you're sleeping peacefully, they're out there creeping around looking to take your hard-earned valuables and things out of your hard-earned automobile. And that's not something we take lightly. I've been in law enforcement for a long time, and it's as much a violation as physically or personally being a victim of a crime, and we recognize that. So these deputies were out in that particular evening, and a call came out of a suspicious individual. This was in the area of the 200 block of Northeast 9th Avenue in the month of January. And a call came out that a suspicious person was in the neighborhood and had been lifting on car door handles and going into vehicles. And, these types of crimes happen often throughout the country. But what's special about here is these deputies, this squad, they were not satisfied with merely responding, merely just taking a report or having a detective follow up. They were diligent and adamant in catching the bad guy. And through their perfect coordination, that's exactly what they did. And that's no small feat, catching one individual in the darkness of night throughout a very large, sprawling neighborhood. But they did so cohesively, effectively, and most important, safely for all involved. And he was safely taken into custody. And this prolific car burglar, after being debriefed by a detective, ended up clearing a number of car thefts, and significant property was recovered. So for those efforts that are happening in the dark of night while we all sleep safely, I do want to honor these gentlemen. Thank you very much for your distinguished service. Okay, next, I'm going to bring down for February 2022. You guys are done being embarrassed for now. Sergeant Dorio, will you step forward, please? We talk about the magic behind the scenes. There's so many things we take for granted. When we have large scale events here in the city, whether they're public safety oriented or they're community outreach oriented, they require a lot of coordination and resources. Electronic signboards, trailers, cones, personnel, vehicles, aviation units, canine. Well, there's somebody behind the scenes that we don't get to see, behind the curtain, if you will, working all those gears. And for the city of Deerfield Beach, that person is Sergeant Ian Dorio. And he works tirelessly. When I tell you this man's RPM runs in the red 24/7, I have to answer the phone at midnight and say, Ian, it's a great thought. Go to sleep, get some rest. We'll talk about your great idea tomorrow, because he's always trying to bring some fantastic idea forward to make this city better, to make it a safer place. And he does exactly that. And he's been serving this agency and this community for 34 years. Ian? 34 years. I'm sorry, I gave you. I rounded up for you. A long time, where a lot of people would have thrown the towel in already. Ian doesn't quit. So Ian, for all your dedication and service to this agency, this city, and this community, I commend you. Thank you. I'm proud to introduce this gaggle up here. If you'll step forward physically and or virtually, you will enjoy this story, folks. We are now going to honor Lieutenant Brian Montgomery, Sergeant Nick Novello, Deputy Sean Bain, Deputy Brad Stevenson, Detective Felipe Santa Maria, Deputy Joseph Meyer, Deputy Calvin Moquette, Deputy Jeff Cohn, Deputy Keith Brown, Detective Louis Von Holm, it's Canine Deputy Milan Jesus, Deputy Chaston Peterson, and Detective Cintron Williams. These are all the deputies. I do want to also give a special shout out to the last two people who are going to step forward. Communications Operator 3, James Jablonski, and Communications Operator 2, Jessica Jarbo. please step forward. Don't be shy. Come out of the shadows, because these are the folks that are not only behind the scenes for everybody, but for us. These are the voices on the radio that help us make everything happen, that help us coordinate all of our resources and keep us really safe. So I was happy to honor them along with these deputies. So you say, wow, so many deputies. Yes, this was all for one incident. This was the day shift squad. If you recall, back in January on Martin Luther King Day, we had a very odd, unfortunate episode where a gentleman was running naked throughout the city of Deerfield Beach. And it wasn't just any individual. This individual happened to stand 6'5", almost 300 pounds, in phenomenal shape. Because as you probably read in the news, if you hadn't, he was a pro NFL player. And I'm not making light of his breakdown or his condition or whatever led him to do that. That's not what this is about. But whatever it is, it led him to do that, to basically maraud through our city naked past a children's school, which caused a significant alarm. And our deputies, getting this information, responded to the scene. And we found that this individual was running in and out of traffic. So all of the dangers that were obviously posed to himself, to motorists, to others, it took a special kind of coordination to stop this individual and to do so safely, which is always a challenge for us. So the first person on scene to attempt to do that was Sergeant McNavello. And I do want to give him a special recognition, because I want you to know that the NFL, if they're recruiting, this is the next guy. So, and we have the video to prove this. This is an individual that was fresh out of training camp that morning here in Deerfield Beach. He was visiting our city to attend a training camp. And Sergeant Novello, the squad leader, and again, leading by example, not behind a computer, but out in the field. First one at the right place at the right time, or wrong place. Say, look at him. Gave this gentleman polite orders to please get on the ground, which he initially complied with, and then immediately stood up and charged Sergeant Novello. And Sergeant Novello is a big guy, but I need to remind you, this individual was 6'5", 300 pounds in shape. Sergeant Novello took a line drive from an active NFL defensive tackle and stayed standing, and then got punched in the face. So he was rammed, punched in the face. He did go down, but he got right back up and he gave chase. So he was relentless in his pursuit and his resilience, if you will. And listen, through the coordination of all of these deputies involved, this individual did make it across Hillsborough, fortunately safely, without meeting a calamity there with a motor vehicle. And he was effectively and safely taken into custody across the street. I can't emphasize that enough, because you know the challenge for us in law enforcement, which is often no good deed goes unpunished. We try to keep the community safe. We try to do our job in a split second to the best of our ability. But sometimes you zig when maybe you should have zagged. But these fellows, they're the consummate professionals, these ladies and gentlemen here, and they were spot on. And they safely took this very large, unfortunately dangerous at the time, individual into custody who was resisting arrest, who was fighting. And they did so without any injury to him or to themselves, other than the injuries that Sergeant Novello did sustain. He did sustain injuries, and he went out on light duty. He was out for a while, and he is back, stronger than ever, like the bionic man. So to these folks, again, I can't commend you strongly enough for your actions that day, keeping the community safe. You kept the individual safe, and you did everything just by the book. I just want to finish with, I received emails and phone calls from across the country, and I was proud to receive those. That commended us on doing the job right and doing it the way that it should be done and setting the example. So for that, again, I commend you and thank you for your service. In the moment. Okay, so I just have a couple more special recognitions, and then I have you here. Detective John Horry, retired. Will you step forward, please? I just want to honor some folks. After 31 years, Detective Horry decided to throw in the towel, but not before he provided really invaluable public safety service to this community. John was a seasoned and still is always seasoned and skilled investigator and detective. He worked very diligently, in our city's very exclusive and very special real-time crime center. We have all kinds of interesting things that require a lot of talent and imagination and wherewithal. And John applied those skills 100% of the time. and really helped make a lot of good cases. He also worked here as a detective for a very long time. And I just want to thank him for that dedication to this agency, to the city, and especially to us. Thank you very much, John. I hope you're enjoying your retirement. You can stay up. Feel free to enjoy the limelight a little longer. Lieutenant Gabe Aragon. Come on. Lieutenant Aragon retired after 18 years of service, but again, another guy in the shadows behind the scenes, served this city diligently for several years as a nighttime patrol commander and really did it with aplomb. Worked very, very hard to build a lot of cohesiveness that still resonates today on the night shift, and brought a lot of positive change and influence and mentoring to this district. Also another really smart guy. You were missed and your absence is noticeable, but we're happy to report there is life after BSO. I hope you're enjoying that fishing, just 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years behind you. All right, gentlemen, thank you. And one more. This is, let's see, actually I got 2 more. Lieutenant Camella, come back up. As I mentioned, Lieutenant Camella was formerly our Sergeant Camella, but he was an intricate part of Lieutenant Aragon's night shift team. He was involved in that incident I told you about in January with the car burglar. And even though he's moved on to more interesting things, dare I call it, as a lieutenant down at our international airport, keeping everything flowing freely and safely, he really provided unbelievable dedicated service to this community on the night shift, really led by example. And did a lot to mentor and motivate, especially our newer and younger deputies. So for that service, we thank you. Not least, Deputy Brad Stevens, will you step forward one more time? 36 years of service, but no, he's not retired. He's still here. But it's important to mention, going on 36 years of service, all to the city of Deerfield Beach. He is a distinguished member of the proud Deerfield Beach Police Department alumni group. Is that not correct, Brad? There's a few left, and Brad's one of them. But there's so many things to say about Brad, but what I just want to focus on the most is, A, he's still here. He's still serving this community, and he is not resting on any laurels. He is not taking it easy. He did not request transfer to the airport. Oh, sorry, John. Not the airport per se. Parkland. He continues to serve the city, and he works very hard to do so. He is a distinguished member of our traffic unit, where he's the most senior member, obviously, and he leads by example and teaches the new guys how it's done, but works really, really hard to keep the city safe, especially to keep our streets safe. And for that you continue to do so, Brad, and in such a manner, we commend you and thank you for your service. A regular certificate. Brad gets a giant 35-year certificate, even though it's going on 36 years now. So we can hold that with pride. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you'd like to honor all these distinguished folks together.
Absolutely.
Do that, guys.
I'd love to meet everyone together and have us number.
But that would be fantastic. Thank you, folks. If we could all gather up. Oh!
He said, "Oh, guys, I'm glad you feel better."
Thank you, guys. Thank you again for that opportunity.
Chief, on behalf of the entire city of Deerfield Beach, we thank all of you for your service. Thank you so much. Give a quick moment to
Obviously, the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna let the vice mayor, or the, we'll let Commissioner Preston go ahead and be on to our next item.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the things that we all should remember living in the city, or any city, it is the residents that make our city. The people in it who contribute, the people in it who love the city and try to always do those things that are positive. I'd like to just tell you about a wonderful family here in the city of Deerfield Beach that we're going to honor tonight. Though it's for this young man, he did not get where he got by himself, so it is his family. So I'm going to ask the entire Powell family to stand, please. Young man in the white t-shirt, his name is Brandon Powell. He is a Deerfield Beach resident. I'm gonna give you all the points in just a second. But he's from the city. From the city. He played for the Packer Rattler football team. He went to Deerfield Beach High School, and he has gone to the NFL, and he now he's going to be wearing a Super Bowl ring. So I'm going to give you the points here. It says Brandon Powell is the wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams of the National Football League. He was born and raised in Deerfield Beach and played for Deerfield Beach High School, but as I said, the Packer Rattlers as well. He was blessed and received a scholarship at the University of Florida. Powell entered the Florida football program workout of Deerfield Beach High School as a 4-star recruit and was ranked 267 overall in the ESPN 300 and was also 34th ranked athlete in the 2014 recruiting class. Brandon, in his freshman season at the University of Florida, caught 15 passes for 147 yards with a touchdown. As a sophomore, caught 29 passes for 390 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a career-long 77-yard score. Brandon was named NFC Special Team Player of the Week for the first time in his NFL career for his performance. Brandon won Super Bowl 56 against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I would like you all to join me in recognizing a wonderful young man who has come back to his city to give back. We talked, and the one thing that he talked about was doing things for the kids. He understands the situation because this is where he's come from. Great family. Brandon, we're very, very proud of you. Thank you. And I also want to tell you, as I said, that there's nothing ever is by just yourself. A lot of people contribute to that. And I want to tell you, just right here in the front row, right here, right here. His name is Ronald Roll. You would never know it unless I told you. But this man here was a coach for the Packer Rattlers for many, many years. And he used to coach and give up himself. But what he won't tell you, but I'm going to tell you all the time, he gets money from his own family, because his kids couldn't afford the entry fee. Never asked for a penny back. Coach Rose, thank you. We appreciate it. Packer Rattler, man. You know, that's they're going to want a Super Bowl. You want a Super Bowl in there? I ain't gonna close. This is his wonderful family. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll come back.
I just want to say, thank y'all for letting us see the honor. I really want to say appreciate y'all for bringing back the paparazzi because football has done a lot for me. I mean, it got me to see things that I probably never would have saw. Getting back in Deerfield now after 4 years of being in the league, talking to friends I never met, all the little kids that's looking up to want to go to the NFL, but it's like, man, you might not make it. And it's like, I've seen a lot. I was just playing football, but being that I played football, I started at the Pacarella Foot Road. My dad is making me, play football every day. My grandma being there, playing against my cousin in the street every day. All these kids is the same thing they're doing today. And it's like, being able to play football, giving them the opportunity to go to high school, play football in high school, go to college for free. And your daddy and your mom was not having to pay for anything. It's like that just, it started in Pacarella, and I was supposed to say appreciate y'all, for bringing that back for the kids around here because they really need something to do other than, just sitting in the streets all day, slinging drugs or go out here robbing people. So I just want to say appreciate y'all for that.
Thank you.
Item number 5 on tonight's agenda is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the award of the Community Participation Grant to the Deerfield Beach Economic Development Council in the amount of $40,000, authorizing execution of the grant agreement, providing for an effective date.
Commission, thank you so much. Is there, commissioners, are there any comments you'd like to make before we open to the public? All right, I'm going to go ahead and open to the public. Do you want the public here to comment on this item? I don't see anyone here. I don't see anyone online. I'm going to have to close it to the public then. Commission, or Vice Mayor Hudak?
Thank you. I just want to say, as a founding member of the Economic Development Council, I'm really proud of everything that they've done and how they've really helped out Deerfield Beach since their inception. And I am fully supportive of this organization, as well as the members who do take their time and spend their money to help promote the city of Deerfield Beach and along with the city, our own Economic Development Council, to bring in businesses and to make Deerfield Beach a thriving community. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Commissioner Parnas?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hudak,
Yes.
Mayor Dan.
Yes.
Item number 6 on the agenda is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending the city's comprehensive plan by adopting the evaluation and appraisal-based comprehensive plan amendments, providing for the adoption transmittal of the comprehensive plan amendments pursuant to section 163.3184 Florida statutes, providing for inclusion in the City of Deerfield Beach comp plan, providing for conflict severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Mr. Power, going to make presentations.
Good evening, Eric Power, Director of Planning and Development Services, City of Deerfield Beach. All right. So if you recall, I was here at the last commission meeting, providing you a presentation. This is part 2 of the presentation. The reason why we broke it into 2 different presentations was the size of the comprehensive plan and the many different chapters or elements that we call it. Heather, would you mind minimizing the photos? Apologize.
Thank you. Yeah, so back on April 5th, we were here with 9 elements, which were approved by the commission, I'm sorry, Planning and Zoning Board on March 3rd. We are now doing the second phase of that presentation. Thank you. Just go to the next slide. Again, it's just a quick update. This is all the chapters that are part of the comprehensive plan. The next slide, please. I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you. And tonight, these are the chapters we'll be talking about. So the introduction of future land use, housing, recreational open space. And you might see these are actually a small amount of chapters. This is actually the largest part of the comprehensive plan. Those 3 sections probably comprise the bulk of the comprehensive plan. And these went to the Planning and Zoning Board back on April 7th and were approved, or recommended for approval. Go to the next slide, please. Again, introduction, which you think is not a big deal. The introduction is does update things like elected officials, updates important elements as far as the state statutes that we have to reference. Just go to the next slide. Many of the educational and legislative requirements that we might have. Next slide, please. So future land use. This is probably the most important aspect of the comprehensive plan, future land use, where we discuss all the different land use regulations that are within the city. So, residential, commercial, industrial, park, all those types of things. And we discuss how those different land uses interact with each other and what the importance of them are and whether or not we need to move them, change them, update them. Go to the next slide, please. And so some of those changes is that we did revise some of the goals, objectives, and policies from Broward Next, which is the new Broward County changes that we're looking to adopt. State requirements, local requirements such as that. One of the things we did actually recognize in this plan review is we did identify land uses that are mislabeled in our plan. So one of the new things that will be coming forward from you in the future is we'll be actually coming forward and making some changes to land uses that we identified through this last review, thanks to Laker Associates, our consultant for the project. Some of those things are really simple. It's like park and open space that are mislabeled as commercial or agricultural, and even simpler things than that. So, over time, especially a city as old as ours, prior to computers, some of these things happen, and it just takes time to recognize them. So we will be coming forward in a few months, probably with some of those, let's call them Scrivener errors over time for land use changes. Next slide, please. Additional updates. We did update all the maps, which is important for us. Many things changed in the last 7 years as far as land use. Every time we do a land use plan amendment, we update the map of the comprehensive plan as we update necessarily. And some of the other big changes is we did add the new commerce category, which is now part of Broward Next. Commerce now is the entire commercial category for Broward Next, so industrial all the way down to neighborhood business. And they have what we would call a collapsible code. So essentially all of those commercial uses are now under one category. We don't treat it like that per se. What it does is it makes developers' lives easier at the county level. So we will still have land uses related to, industrial, commercial, those types of areas. Broward Next, and by adopting language for Broward Next, we recognize the county has now made those changes and the county's requirements. So a developer comes forward in the way in which they have to go through their processes. And then we did add the high residential 50 units per dwelling acre, which we did approve by City Commission back in June of 2019. So that was added as well. Next slide, please. So housing, which is also a very large element in the comprehensive plan. Obviously, we're looking at everything from types of housing, single family, multifamily, residential. You think this would be the section talking about affordable housing, but actually future land use amendment is one of those that most talk about affordable housing, which we strive to comply for. You go to the next slide, please. The updates to data analysis for census. Obviously we've had a census in the last 7 years. We did update some definitions from our code, and we've updated the uses for vacant land. So every year our vacant land percentage changes, right? So we do that. And so of course that's updated as well. Next slide. And then recreation open space. We have requirements with the city of how much recreation open space that we can have. Go to the next slide. So because Again, land use has changed. I mean, we recall, we've lost some golf courses over time. We've added some new parks. We've added some new facilities and things like that. So we have to update those to identify lost and new open space, update all those maps, and update the park and recreation inventory, which hadn't been done in a few years. So we were happy to go through that. And part of this as well is to recognize that there is an upcoming parks master plan and how the comprehensive plan fits into that, and making sure that we've done everything we can to make that those future plans that parks may have accessible. Next slide. So next steps. So we did a presentation last week. I'm sorry, last meeting was just a presentation. There's no action. Tonight's action is to recommend the entire comprehensive plan for approval or for adoption. So that's all the elements that we reviewed in the last meeting and this meeting. That item will then be transmitted to the state for review. Upon approval, they'll then come back down to the commission for the second reading. And at that point, all the updates for the comprehensive plan will be addressed for its final adoption. I believe that's the last slide. Yes. So any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Commissioner, any questions? Commissioner Preston?
When you were going through this process, did you see anything from your perspective that needed attention? Or were you pretty much comfortable with how everything played out?
Yeah, several things needed our attention. Even though, 7 years ago doesn't feel like it was that long time ago, multiple things have changed with the city. And even just technology has changed in the last 7 years. State amendments that came forward. But I will tell you that as far as the goals, objectives, and policies that Deerfield Beach has, they're strong, and they have been for several years, related to how much open space we should have for residents, the affordable housing requirements we have for residents. We have a very, you could say strong and or liberal as far as our affordable housing ordinances and regulations go. I would say we have a very strong, affordable housing policy in the city of Deerfield Beach, stronger than what Broward County has recently adopted. So there were several things we looked at, but I wouldn't say that necessarily that needed to be changed, or if there was, I would have addressed it to you prior to making those changes.
Thank you. Commissioner Parnas?
Yes, will any land changes that we make still have to come through the planning council?
Yes, however, if those land use changes are in what's called the commerce categories, let's say it's an industrial land use, it's going to change to a commercial land use, a business land use, that would not necessarily go through planning council. But if it was something that went from, like, say, residential to commercial, you would be seeing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Huda?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. Over the past year, we've had a lot of discussions about development of Dixie Highway, and some of the challenges that have been brought out is the zoning and how we need to address that as a city so that we can invite growth in that area. So I'm not sure if this is the document and where we address that. But I hope that that's something that we're seriously looking at. And then also my next point is with the mega homes that I talked about last commission meeting, I want to make sure that that doesn't fall by the wayside as well. So if you can touch on either of those, that'd be appreciated.
Well, I would, so zoning is the one, if the comprehensive plan is like the 20,000 foot view, looking down from the plane, zoning is that 1 foot view. I'm looking straight down. So everything that we're talking about tonight is higher in determination and detail than the land development code that we have. But we're required to follow all the regulations of the comprehensive plan for land development code. So I can't do some land development code that would object to the comprehensive plan. But those items are all more big picture in how we deal with the entire city. As far as Dixie Highway is concerned, we've gone through several phases of trying to improve Dixie Highway. Recently, do a live study. Chris Moore, economic development director, myself, David Santucci, we all work together to try to improve what we can for Dixie Highway. Those changes will be changes made at the zoning level. Yeah.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? Not seeing anybody in the audience. Go ahead and close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion from Commissioner Parnas, seconded by Vice Mayor Hudak. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
Mayor Diaz.
Yes. Thank you for all your hard work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 7 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending section 70-72 imposed and section 70-127 imposed, chapter 70 utilities of the City Code of Ordinances to provide for the water and wastewater utility rates to be adopted by resolution, providing for codification, severability, conflicts, and an effective date. This is second reading.
Commission, any comments for it to the public? Commissioner Drosky.
We closed, this is second reading, so we closed this last time with the understanding that there's going to be a review that's going to come back to us in the summer. I just want to make sure that that's where we're going to pick up. That's still the case. I know we're adopting increases, but I know we want the ability, or I want the ability to see where we are come summertime. I just want to ensure that that's still the game plan.
Commissioner Drosky, that is still the game plan. We will reevaluate the plan for the outer years and the recommendations for the outer years and come back with some further recommendations for those outer years at a later date. And most likely in the summertime, yes.
Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? Seeing nobody here. Not seeing anyone online, I think close it to the public. Commission.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Parnas. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda, Mayor Diaz.
Yes.
Item number 8 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the amended schedule of water and wastewater utility rates, providing for conflict, implementation, and an effective date.
Mayor, if I could just have our consultant come up and just briefly recap the presentation that was given during first reading for this item.
Sure.
It was the same presentation or different version of the presentation that was also provided on 2 subsequent workshops that we did on the subject.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name again is Chuck Sinclair. I'm Senior Vice President of Corolla Engineers, and I've been working for the city now for several years on development of an integrated master plan and utility rate revenue study. And I'll just go through the highlights of what we've been up to the last few years. With the master plan itself, we went out and did a condition assessment of the utility system. We projected demands for future based on population growth and just what condition the system was. And we identified some improvements that would be needed, and we actually developed a capital improvement plan both for a 5-year and a 20-year horizon. So we'll be able to look at what we thought the needs of the system were going to be for a short and long term. Based on that, we developed a rate sufficiency study. Our financial consultant, Raptalis, they looked at developed a financial forecast of what it would take to fund the utility for, again, a 5 and a 20-year period. They assessed the ability of the current rates to meet that financial forecast and determined that the rates would not be sufficient to meet that forecast. So we actually recommended a rate increase. And as I shared last meeting, we presented that to staff in early March 2020, and then the pandemic hit and basically put everything on the shelf while you all addressed things that were more pressing to the city at the time. We got back together in November of last year. We developed a game plan looking forward. We reevaluated the CIP. We're really pleasantly surprised to see how much work your staff has continued to do despite really increasing capital funds. They were able to do that through operating funds. They did have to dip into cash reserves. So your financial situation until you got a little worse because we were not able to increase the rates. We also had about $750,000 worth of releases in fees that were paid. Then we also noticed that your system continued to operate very efficiently. You continued to provide water that was clean and safe and reliable to your customers. And then over the last several months, we've been conducting workshops with the public to not only inform them of the situation and what we're recommending, but also get input from the public. There's a couple of important facts that I think are worth noting relative to your city utility. First, only 70% of the residents of the city of Deerfield Beach are actually served by your city utility. The other 30% are served by Broward County. Both your city rates are actually the lowest rates of all the utilities in Broward County, and Broward County's rates, who serve again the other 30% of your customers or your residents, are actually below the county average. The rate increase we're proposing is 7.1%. It's combined water and wastewater. And I think it was Commissioner Parnas who gave us some insight last meeting that what does that really mean in terms of 7.1% sounds big, but what does it really mean to our customers? For an average customer, that's an increase of about $4 a month on their water bill. For customers that use less rate or less water, such as smaller residential, single-family residential, or multi-family residential, it's under $3 a month. And then for even your larger residential units, it's that they use a lot of irrigation, it's still under $6 a month. So it's not, relatively speaking, it's not a huge impact to the customers. Our recommendation here tonight is to go ahead and adopt the 7.1% that we recommended a couple of years ago. And we think that's good because not only do you go ahead and start catching up with the last couple of years we lost, that number is not something we pulled out of the year. It was based on the 2 years assessment that we did of your system and your rates of efficiency. And then step two, as Commissioner Groski mentioned, we would go back and we needed to go back and evaluate both master plan and revenue efficiency study. A lot has happened. Again, your staff have been diligent in actually making some improvements to your system. But we need to look at existing positions of the system as it is today. We can look at updated financials. Another thing that's important is we need to look at updated population projections. A lot of things have happened here in the last 12 to 18 months throughout Florida, but especially here in Southeast Florida, that we want to make sure that we are developing a plan that will accommodate the near-term and long-term future of the community. And then along the way, some good news, there's a lot of federal and even state money that's become available to fund utility systems. So we want to be very diligent and aggressive in going out and identifying those funds and getting access to that funds. And we want to bring all that back to you. Again, the target, as the manager said, would be this summer to give you enough information to make a decision moving forward in terms of with that. I'll turn it back to you here. I'll have to answer your question.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? Yes, ma'am. You just need your name and address to the record. Feel free to take your mask off if you'd like.
Janice Fulmore Tigner, 1090 Southwest Fourth Terrace, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I have a question. I understand there will be an increase with our water bills. During the pandemic, I know they didn't do any shutoffs, but I had been asked by an elderly person in the community about inquiring because they had delinquency in their water bill. So I did call the city and ask them, will they be doing cutoffs? And they said, no, not at the current time, but there will be. And when they start doing cutoffs, that your water bill had to remain under $100. And that was the message I got from the city when I called myself. So I just want a little bit of clarity on that, because there are some people that that's a true statement, that water bills are over $100. So I know people have fell behind, have been hard times. Is there any leeway? Is there anything, any hope, any help for ones that fall into that category? And if so, what is out there? So I'm asking questions for the people.
Not a problem. I'm going to answer your question. Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Gwen Clark Reed, would you like to go ahead? Sorry. We have her online this morning.
Gwen Clark Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way. Mayor, I just want to get clarity on the increase. We're saying it's a roughly a $4 increase to the residents on their water bill. But then I heard Commissioner Drosky speak about coming back with some other information during the summer. Will we be adjusting the water bill at that time?
We'll get you the answer and from some clarification for you.
Thank you.
That's what it seems like.
Pastor Wesley, 1061 Southwood. On the increase, I know you stated a while back at the meeting, the city was in the red about $700,000.
750.
Yeah, about 750. And there's 30% of the city still being serviced by the county. Right? Because I have some friends that pay to the county, but the city of Deerfield, I think, annexed them in. They've been annexed in, but they're still paying to the county, the water bill. I was wondering, can you consider that 30% that you annex in that's still paying the county? And once you include them in with the other 7% of the city that's paying, you can't spread that out where it won't be an increase, momentarily. I know the people are hurting and we're in the red, $750,000 or whatever. But that's just a consideration, When would the city of Deerfield start having them to pay their water bill to the city of Deerfield instead of the 30% still paying to the county?
We'll get an answer for you.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering, because I got some friends that live beyond 48th Street.
Sure.
And they're paying, on Copeland Road and Copeland Road. So if you take into consideration that 30%, then you may not have to increase, or if you spread it out, it wouldn't be what the $4 and something. That's some food for thought.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who care to comment? Not seeing any, I'm going to close it to the public. Can we get some answers for these questions from the city manager or staff?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Regarding the first question, the clarity on the cutoffs, we did resume cutoffs recently. The county resumed cutoffs probably at least somewhere between 8 to 12 months ago, I would say. But if there is a customer who has a need to have the city work with them in regards to repayment of delinquencies, we really are doing our very best to work with those individuals to do things such as come up with payment plans. We also have some programs that they may be eligible for some utility bill relief. So I would encourage any resident who is now needing to get back on pace with making payments for the utility bill to contact our utility billing department, customer service, and they will assist you. In relation to what about future adjustments and what that might mean, the original study in review of everything that Mr. Sinclair discussed came up with a recommendation of a 7.1% increase over a course of 5 years. So meaning a 7.1% increase in years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But a lot has changed since then, and it needs to be reevaluated. So the recommendations will come back before the city commission ultimately for their decision. So I could not say of what the future may hold in regards to any recommendations that are made by staff. In terms of what I believe the gentleman was making a comment to is, can we take over the annexed area's utility infrastructure? And the answer really is no, because it's tied into a different system than ours. Imagine just a network of piping that is in the county or in the annexed area. It doesn't connect with ours in a very clean way. And additionally to that, you don't know what you're taking over. So what I mean by that is, with those pipes underground, you don't know what condition they are in. And so that's also an issue when you're taking over utilities of some other entity. And I don't think that taking that over would really relieve the city from any rate increase, quite frankly. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. And to that point, when it comes to bringing in that 30%, this operates as an enterprise fund. So that means it needs to bring in enough money just to pay for itself. So it's not like we're making a profit on that, but if we brought in more customers, so to speak, it would allow us to be able to have more money to kind of lessen the blow for the rest of the city. All it would do is actually put a greater impact on our current system, our current water supply. And whatever cost it would take us to provide to those 30%, that's what we would be charging, and we would not be making enough to kind of spread it out to water down the effect of the potential increase. Am I accurate in saying that? So it's tricky that it has to pay for itself. I'm happy to talk to you about that afterwards, Pastor Chris, if that's okay.
I was wondering, you annex land in, you should take that under consideration, what are you up against?
I would say when the annexation happened in the city of Deerfield Beach going back, and I think in the mid-2000s, I think when that happened, there was a lot of things that probably weren't as thought out as they needed to be when that occurred. I can say that. So unfortunately, I don't think we have the ability to be able to kind of reverse that, certainly with the water supply right now. And quite frankly, for the city of Deerfield Beach, it lessens our burden a little bit for us. But I do think it was a disservice to those that we annexed at the time when they did that. Commissioner Parnas, I see you.
Yeah, I have a question to staff. The 7.1%, which will come to about $4 a month, isn't that based on 40,000 gallons a month usage?
I believe it's based off of either 12,000 or 15,000, 6,000 gallons.
6,000 gallons. So if people use less, the increase will be less. And if they've got 8 kids and use more, the bill will be more. So when you look at the increase, look at how big your household is and your usage. If your usage is less than the average, you'll pay less than $4. If it's a lot more, you will pay more. But water has gone up and we're still way cheaper than the county. And we don't want to have to go to the county. We want to bring you fresh, clean, usable, potable water. And we can't keep going into the hole to do it. It's got to pay for itself. This should have been done 10 years ago. Unfortunately, whoever was on the commission then overlooked it. Now we have to look reality in the face and say it can't continue to run in the red because we're all paying for it one way or another. So those who use more will pay more, those who use less will pay less. But the increase is absolutely necessary. We're going to continue to bring you less expensive clean water than the county and most other cities, if not all other cities in Broward County.
Thank you. I will say this, it shouldn't have been done 10 years ago because it wasn't needed 10 years ago. Now times have changed within that 10-year time frame, but it needed to be. Having sat up here back 10 years ago, there's no need to increase it because it didn't need it to be done at that time. Still, we have not had a rate increase when it comes to our water supply in almost 16 years, 14 years. So we still have the lowest rate in all of Broward County. So this isn't a matter of a luxury item that we're doing it to bring in more money for the coffers. It has to pay for itself. It hasn't been doing that in the last several years, and we need to change that. And we need to do whatever we can to ensure that we supply everyone with the most vital thing that we supply here in the city of Deerfield Beach, which is water. So I am, while this is not something that's thrilled about always raising any kind of rate, it's an absolute necessity. Commission.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hudak, second by Commissioner Parnas. We have roll roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
We are now at public comment. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address, may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. This is the time for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. If you have a public comment on an item that's on the agenda, the time to do it is when the public comment period is open after that item is read into the record. And as a reminder, no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted.
Is there anyone from the public who care to speak? Not seeing it, we're going to close it to the public.
We are now on, there's one consent board appointment item. I'll go ahead and read into the record. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, appointing Daryl Brown as an alternate member of the Community Appearance Board to fulfill an unexpired term and providing for an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? I'll close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Parnas. Second by Commissioner Hudak. Excuse me.
The other way around.
Commissioner Parnas. Vice Mayor Hudak, my apologies. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are now at consent agreements and expenditure requests. This is for items 10 through 19.
Okay. Are there any pulls by the commission on any items between 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or 19? Is there anyone from the public that would care to comment on any of those items? Not seeing anyone, I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public. Commission, we can do this all as one if you'd like.
No problem.
We need a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Drosky. I'll take the late motion from the vice mayor as our second. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Okay, we are now at item number 20. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving a sign relocation and reconstruction agreement with Clear Channel Outdoor LLC pursuant to the city's billboard relocation policy and section 70.20 Florida statutes authorizing execution of the sign relocation agreement, providing for an effective date. This item, the applicant has requested deferral of this item to the May 17th, 2022 commission meeting, so it may be appropriate for a motion to defer it to May 17th, 2022.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston to move this item. And I want to thank, it's my understanding and speaking to the applicant, that the reason the request has been made is they want the opportunity to meet with the residents over there. And I think that's because of your request, Commissioner Drosky. So I want to thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Okay, item number 21 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the memorandum of understanding with Deerfield Beach Community Cares, Inc. to collaborate in assisting city residents by supporting mental and behavioral health, authorizing the city manager to execute the MOU, providing for implementation and an effective date.
City manager, any comments on this?
Thank you, Mayor. Just that we've been working with Community Cares and the founding director, Joel Smith, on this, who you've seen throughout our community. And really, we just want to, in a very soft way, solidify the relationship between that organization and the City of Deerfield Beach to discuss how we will work together cooperatively. And so just to kind of recap what that looks like, they're gonna, we're gonna agree to meet on a regular basis to identify, potential challenges and opportunities for us throughout our community, collaborate on potential grant opportunities, implement some annual activities for health, mental health, access to healthy foods and overall community well-being. We're going to plan and coordinate an annual team summit. And we will also, they will attend our education advisory board meetings to gain insight from our education community on the state of affairs within our schools. This is what the memorandum of understanding seeks to solidify, and I'm happy to address any questions that the commission or the public may have.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? Not seeing any, I'm going to close it to the public. I want to say that, you know, Joel Smith, you're here tonight. I want to thank you for all of your hard work on this. And this has been a relationship that has grown, is succeeding and flourishing here. And will continue to only get better. So I want to thank you for all your hard work in the community. So thank you very much, Joel. Commissioner Drosky and the Vice Mayor Hudak.
I just want to echo the mayor's sentiments on this. There's a lot of events that we attend, and Joel is at a lot of those now, and he's become a fixture in the community. When I first attended, one of these meetings at the very beginning for Deerfield Cares, I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go, if it was going to get legs, how it was going to happen. It started out kind of as a small group, but it grew very quickly, and I'm pleasantly surprised. And I know Joel has a lot to do with that. He's very involved, and no pun intended, he does truly care and gives that direction and dialogue amongst the members. And so it's taken on a life of its own, and it's a true need that we have in this community. I don't need to reiterate the tragedies that we've had in Deerfield Beach that started this movement, but there is a need in the community, and a couple of years of COVID have only exacerbated the problem. So I'll be in full support, and thank you for being here tonight, Joel. You're very patient.
Thank you, Commissioner Drosky, Vice Mayor Hudak.
And I also want to echo those comments. We were at that first meeting in Zion, and it was a very small meeting, and the way the community has embraced it, it's just a testament to you and how genuine you are, and all that you've done for this community. It's really appreciated. And I don't know that you know how many people do appreciate it. When we were at the middle school, which you did for the teachers, that was absolutely tremendous. And I just want to personally thank you for putting Deerfield under your heart and really helping us. We really do appreciate our partnership. So thank you very much.
Excellent.
And I'll make a motion.
Thank you. We have a motion from the Vice Mayor.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Parnas. I think we can do
Co-expenditure on this one. You can do it.
excellent. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And passes unanimously.
Item number 22 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the State Housing Initiative Program Local Housing Assistance Plan for fiscal years 2022, 2023 through 2024, 2025, authorizing the mayor to execute any necessary documents and certifications required by the state, authorizing the submission of the LHAP for review and approval by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Any comments from the commission before it opens to the public? Okay, we're going to open it to the public. We move from the public here to comments. Close it to the public. Commission. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, second by Commissioner Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hudak,
Yes.
and Mayor Diaz.
Yes.
Item number 23 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving and adopting the revised personnel rules and regulations and updated employee handbook attached as Exhibit A, providing for conflict severability and an effective date.
Mr. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Mr. Milton Collins, who will provide a brief overview of changes made to the handbook. He worked extensively with staff to include Ms. Amanda Robin and her team in human resources.
Hi, good evening, Commission. Just before you, you have a revised personnel handbook by the city. And just by way of a reminder, back in 2019, there was a comprehensive rewrite. So the city took care of many major issues back in 2019, but since then, we did have to do some tightening up with some of the handbook provisions. So that was our goal here in 2022, to clear up some of these discrete issues that we found. But we also decided to do some housekeeping. So we reviewed the handbook for legal compliance, any outdated language, etc. We reviewed it, we did edit it, and of course that is before you here today. So as you can see in the cover memo, there are several topics that we touched on in revising the manual, but I did think that in order to sort of get out the minutia of some of these sort of minor changes, I wanted to touch on 4 of the major changes to the handbook. The first thing is the ethics policy. What we did was we looked at the ethics policy, and for the most part, it just referred to state law. So our goal really was to give the employees more information concerning ethics policies, ethics guidelines. So what we tried to do is we took a lot from Florida statutes. We put that in the handbook. So if employees have any ethics questions, they can look right in the handbook and not have to, go to the statutory law or go to the administrative code. So that's the first topic. We wanted to beef up the ethics guidelines, and that's what we did here in the manual. Item number 2 had to do with retiree health insurance. There has been some ambiguity over the years as to what retiree health insurance comprises, who's eligible for it. And so what we decided to do is to, again, detail what is retiree health insurance. And as you know, the city does subsidize retiree health insurance up until someone is Medicare eligible. At that point, there is no subsidy. And in fact, as many of you know, Medicare does become the primary for their health insurance. So we wanted to make sure that we clarified what retiree health insurance was. And just one caveat to that, this policy, of course, only applies to what we call non-bargaining unit employees. Anyone that's in a union that's covered by one of the union contracts, they've negotiated their own retiree health insurance, though this really only applies to the small slice of employees who are not covered by a union contract. The third item has to deal with whistleblower. And presently, there is no whistleblower provision in the manual. And we had some discussions with the state, and they recommended that we add a whistleblower policy to the manual. So there is a new provision in the handbook that explains what a whistleblower is, how do you blow the whistle, so to speak, how you're protected, and any other procedural steps you need to go through in order to make a whistleblower complaint. So that's item number 3. We think it's very helpful for employees to understand what that phrase is and sort of how to utilize it. The final item is something that I think the manager may touch on a little bit after I'm done, but we really wanted to address a situation that has become more prevalent as far as recruitment and retention. And the city has had some concern with being competitive with our neighboring cities and counties, as well as the private sector. And in order for us to stay competitive in this market where supply is, I guess, outpacing demand in some places, what we wanted to do is to give management the discretion to be more competitive in the workplace. So that means giving the manager discretion to offer fringe benefits to employees, to increase or adjust salaries, leave benefits. And again, the goal is to make sure that we're competitive with both public and private sectors. So these changes in the salary adjustments section in the handbook really allows the city to do that. Similarly, also retaining employees have been somewhat of a challenge. We have employees that are being poached on occasion by other cities and counties and by the private sector. So again, we want to make sure the manager has that discretion to offer competitive salary, competitive fringe benefits, retirement, et cetera. So those changes do permit the manager to have that discretion. Now, there's two caveats to this particular change. One, it only applies to non-bargaining unit employees. As you know, those employees covered by a union contract, it's the unions that negotiate for those employees. And so these changes really only apply for what we call senior management positions, directors, assistant directors, and other sort of management level positions. The second caveat is something that, we've talked about at length with the manager, and we wanted to make it clear to the commission that any decisions that are made with respect to salary adjustments, fringe benefits, must be within the budgetary parameters set by the commission. So yes, the manager does have discretion to make certain changes, to offer certain benefits and salaries, but it still must be within the budgetary parameters that you set, commission. So those are the four major changes, if you will. And the remainder of the changes are non-substantive, and you did see a tracked version of the entire manual. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But those are the changes that I really wanted the commission to understand, and of course the public to understand as well. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. And this was teed up pretty well, because as to Mr. Collins' last point, with respect that the expenditures have to be consistent with the budget appropriations made by the commission, it doesn't explicitly say that in the handbook. It's kind of understood, and yes, it relates to other ordinances that we have, and so. But I would just like a specific provision in the handbook, so at least there's some cross-reference that reiterates that those expenditures and this discretionary spending that we're approving, which I think we should, by the way, to stay competitive with our sister cities and the private sector. So I'm for the discretionary spending, but I would just like it to be very specific in the handbook, that or have a reference perhaps in the preamble portion at the beginning, that again, those expenditures need to be consistent with the budget appropriations made by this commission. So I'd like that to be a part of any motion, or I'll make it when the time comes.
Okay, understood.
Is there any comments from the public on this item? Not seeing any, I'm going to close it to the public. I'm sorry, I'm going to reopen it to the public. Hugh, I need your name and address for the record, please.
Hugh Fuller, 2861 North Oakland Forest Drive. Just a quick question on the change for non-exempt employees dealing with the to stay competitive. I understand that, but just a question: if you're gonna change some things like that, I believe you guys have a pay and class study coming up soon. Shouldn't something like that wait until after the pay and class study? Because if you have some things that are going to take place now, then you have a pay and class study coming along afterwards. They may get more than additional money. So that's just a question I asked.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for the public care to comment? I'll close it to the public. Commission, City Manager.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. This that specific provision in the handbook seeks to address really matters not related to a pay and class setting, frankly. What we're looking at here are situations where you may have a tenured executive who is interested in a position in the city, but will be starting from scratch. So right now, I don't have the ability to say, well, I understand you're going to be leaving a job that you've had for 20 years and you've got X amount of vacation and sick. I'll bring you on with a week's worth of vacation bank to start off on. Because as you know, employees who start with the city, you start off with a fairly small amount of leave accrual. Another situation could be something like, let's say, a vehicle stipend. If you've got a specific employee who will be traveling a lot for work and while at work, the only option afforded to the city right now is to provide them a city vehicle rather than, say, a vehicle stipend. And my personal preference as a city manager is that city vehicles themselves are just a little bit more of an expensive endeavor than perhaps just providing a small vehicle stipend to compensate for what that travel may be. So those are the types of situations we're talking about as it relates to that provision.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, any comments? Or a motion or something?
Motion to approve.
Here we are.
Mayor, that motion, maybe we talk about this, but my colleague brought up some supplemental language to be introduced to the motion. And we need to talk about that now before we make this motion.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the table. Does it have a second? Or do we need to revise it for the changes that Commissioner Drosky requested? Commissioner Parnas, do you want to revise yours to include Commissioner? How about this?
Yes, I'll revise it to include.
You want to revise it?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to second it since it's taking in your word? Meetings?
I will. Is that sufficient for the city attorney?
Yeah, I just wanted to put it clear on the record. Okay, so the motion by Commissioner Parnas is to approve it with the one amendment suggested by Commissioner Drosky to make it explicit in the code, explicit in the policy that expenditures will be made subject to appropriations approved by the city commission. We can work on that. That's language. Is that correct, Commissioner Parnas?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good one, Commissioner Parnas.
I will second that.
By Commissioner Drosky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay, item number 24 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the city's emergency pay policy and procedure applicable during declared emergencies, providing for implementation and effective date.
City Manager.
Yes, this just solidifies our current practice from an emergency pay policy and procedure. Just think of this as the hurricane pay policy and procedure. The policy enumerates what is already existing in the CBAs and would also apply to non-bargaining unit employees. The purpose of the resolution is to solidify this to ensure that we can, to the best of our ability, nothing's ever certain with FEMA, but to the best of our ability, get reimbursement for our emergency pay policy if it goes into effect, if we do have a declared emergency. And that is all.
Thank you. Commission comments? Anyone from the public here to comment on this item? Close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Parnas, seconded by Vice Mayor Hudak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay, we are now at comments by administration and legal. I have no comments tonight. I'll turn it over to Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commission. I have a few comments that shouldn't take us too long, maybe until about 9:31. It shouldn't take long, it should take about 10 minutes. First one is that I want to make sure that Commissioner Drosky knows that the city staff has worked expeditiously to ensure that the resolution that you sponsored at the last meeting related to divesting from Russian investments has been completed, and we've also taken some proactive steps to ensure that retrospectively looking at our contracts, but also proactively for in the future. So that has been taken care of. I also want to make sure that the City Commission is aware that there's been a change to the federal guidelines as a result of a recent action here in Florida, but at federal level, where masks are no longer required in airports, trains, buses. It's an existing, and I think about the only remaining restriction for the Federal Transit Authority. And that has been lifted. So that has been lifted here in Broward County as well as within the city. So masks are no longer required in those areas. I think there are still there may be some preferences that exist at the discretion of the actual airline. But I think that's probably yet to come, full circle and realizing how that will look in the next coming days. I also wanted to give kudos to the city. Just yesterday, Walla Cup released a report that was conducted by researchers from various universities across the country. And the subject of the report was best and worst small cities to start a business. I'm happy to report that the city of Deerfield Beach ranked number 62 in the nation and 26 here in Florida, which means that there was a lot of those best of cities in Florida. And that was out of 1,300 small sized cities. And they used over 18 key metrics to formulate that study. So kudos to the city for that. And that's all I have for this evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
We are now at city commission business. Item number 25 is consideration to approve voting delegates to the 2022-2023 Board of Directors for Broward League of Cities.
Commissioner Drosky.
I would hope that you would approve me as the voting delegate to the Broward League of Cities, since I'm in line to be president in 2023, next month. And next month I will be first vice president and then president the year after. The reason that I raised my hand or my button to speak tonight is that I would like to recommend, if you would so choose, to be the first alternate is Commissioner Preston. He has served as my backup at a meeting or two before. One of the duties is to attend not only the monthly meetings, and sometimes because of my day job, I'm unable to attend. And Commissioner Preston has been very gracious enough to attend for me. And I know the first alternate right now, Mr. Hudak, his day job may conflict with his ability to substitute for me. So it's nothing against Mr. Hudak, or excuse me, Vice Mayor Hudak. It's just that Commissioner Preston has been very gracious before, and I'd like to see him in that position if he so chooses going forward.
If that's a motion, I'll second.
Get blindsided. I do have doubts about having you as the voting member, considering you're going to be the president and vice president. But no, first off, I want to thank you for not only being our voting member, and which I hope that you will continue to be, but your ascension to the ranks there within that organization. It's a big feather in the cap in the city of Deerfield Beach. It's been a long time since we've had somebody in that position. I think since Gwen Clark Reed, if I'm incorrect on that. So it's an outstanding thing. So congratulations, and I hope that you get full support. And I want to thank Commissioner Preston for stepping forward or being thrown forward. I'm not sure which, but and also Commissioner Vice Mayor Hudak for his past service on that.
Get a motion on that, Mayor?
Sure, maybe for one.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We did decide the second alternate, but
Well, I think we did. Commissioner Preston said he was okay with that. So is your motion to say that we're going to have a voting member be Commissioner Grosky and the alternate to be Commissioner Preston?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion by Vice Mayor Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Parnas. Is that correct?
And then we will the second on the second.
correct.
Second alternate?
Yes.
Would you like to do it? Okay. So Vice Mayor Hudak will be the second alternate. Okay.
Motion was made and seconded.
Is everyone in agreement on that? Who made the motion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
We are now at comments by mayor and city commission.
Let's start with District 1.
No comments, no.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that there's going to be a community meeting on the 27th. April 27th at 6 p.m. This is going to be at the Hillsborough Community Center. Some people call it the Technology Center. And this is in relation to Shift Construction and their proposed situation over there on 10th Street. So they'd like to talk about that too. And so again, it's on April 27th. Talk about that project at 6 p.m. on the 27th over at the Hillsborough Technology Center. And if we could, Mr. City Manager, if we could get the board out to give people some alert on that. Can we do that?
We can certainly assist with getting getting that out to the community.
Okay, thank you. And the next thing I have, this past Saturday, day before Easter, there was an event over at Deerfield Beach High School. It was done through PALS, the Police Athletic League. And I have to tell you, it was an unbelievable event. And I say to you, residents of this community, I say to you, my colleagues, I wish you had seen it. It was unbelievable. Now, what this is basically a track meet. People come from all over Miami, Hollywood, and they're all over. That place over there was packed, absolutely packed. This is an example of what PALs do in our community, pointing kids in a positive direction. This was done by, he put this together, a gentleman to my right. He doesn't want any recognition from the conservative. And that's Deputy James Nichols, right there. He doesn't want to talk about those sort of things, but if you were there, you would just see an absolute servant for the community. I was out there and I had some other events to go to, and I understand that a little bit longer because I was just so captivated. I've been talking about it. It's just, it happened. It's really was awesome. So if you would just tell the people and my colleagues a little bit about what you do. I know you don't want to do it. Please.
Good evening, Commission. Deputy James Nichols, as you know, see most of you a lot of places, but my main job is coordinating the Police Athletic League here in Deerfield Beach, where I take great pride and pleasure in doing so to benefit the children here in Deerfield Beach and in Broward County as a whole. As I sat here tonight, I listened to the presentation or the acknowledgement from Mr. Powell, who said, hey, as being a kid and a product from Deerfield Beach, it's good to see kids being involved in different activities that take them other places to experience things that they would not normally see or get a chance to do. And I thank my command, Captain Hofstein, who provides all of the leadership and guidance and support so I can do what I do, and the commission for also getting us the resources. But the PAL, we're doing a lot of work over there, mentoring children, helping kids, and just making sure they have opportunities, different opportunities, good opportunities to become successful in anything that they choose to do. So I thank you, and we look forward to a bigger and better meet next year with your full support. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Just one of the things, there was kids from all ages, and the youngest to compete was 5 years old. 5 years old. I mean, now the mother was one of the coaches,
but her daughter was actually competing, and it was such a positive. So many kids' lives are being changed by these type of events. We don't have enough Deputy James Nichols in our community, but thank God we have him. And somebody else, thank you, thank you. And these guys are making a difference, and we really appreciate them. We ought to really be friendly to them, give them every resource that they need. Lives are being changed. I saw some kids out there that I could see them right on the brink, but that was a positive for them, and I'm just so appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Mr. Free?
First, on the 25th at 1 o'clock in the Century Village, there will be a live meeting of District 3, as well as it being on Zoom for those who don't live in the area or can't attend personally. You can get the Zoom link by checking in with the city. The FDOT has been invited. I've been against the 10th Street Superhighway because I don't think it's a solution to our problems. You can build all the roads in the world, and they keep filling up. So where's the next one going to be? 2-story, 3-story, 5-story highways when we run out of space? The answer is public transportation. People will not give up their cars unless they can get to work or where they want to go via public transportation. Now, I know you can go to Miami Airport on the train. Pick it up here in Deerfield, get off at the airport. Can't do it Fort Lauderdale Airport, can't do it West Palm Beach Airport, but you can do it to Miami. We do not have adequate public transportation. And in my view, it's the only solution, because traffic is getting worse. And there's only so much room to build more roads for more cars as our population increases. Using Deerfield as an example, 30 years ago, we didn't have anywhere near close to over 80,000 residents. We do now. What will we have in 10 years? 100? If there's no public transportation, there's going to be more cars on the road. And so it'll take an hour to go from here to the beach. Bumper to bumper. That's the future, public transportation. We have this meeting because I'm part of a group. The three of us are sitting up here, have been fighting for what's best for the city with the 10th Street Superhighway for at least 7 years. I don't intend to quit. I will fight them with every ounce of energy I have. Why? Because my constituents feel it's a detriment to Deerfield Beach, that the businesses south of 10th Street will close because people will not have easy access to them. They promised us the moon and gave us a telescope instead of the moon. So I won't give up the fight. Will there be something there eventually? Yes. But I will fight for everything we can get from the state to make it as least intrusive to our lives as possible. And maybe they'll give up. They've done so in the past. But in the meanwhile, the fight goes on. That's what this meeting in District 3 is going to be all about, among other things. I think it's important. I think it's important for the city. And personally, I happen to live in the area about 70 yards from where the superhighway will be. I don't look forward to looking out my window and seeing either a 20-foot wall or hearing the traffic on 10th Street. That's horrendous now, will only get worse when they add lanes to it and have more traffic. so the people in Parkland can get to work 10 minutes sooner. Their attitude is, so Deerfield suffers. Parkland can get to work 10 minutes sooner. Again, the answer is not more cars, more roads, but getting people moved from one place to another via inexpensive public transportation. Years ago, we had a mayor in New York by the name of LaGuardia. And during the strikes, he used to read comics to the kids on the radio on Sunday. And when the unions were formed by the subway people that laid track, cleaned up the subways, ran the trains, token takers, people who sold tokens, they argued with him, gee, we're losing money on the subway. You know what his answer was? Public transportation is not a for-profit institution. It's there to serve the public. Wouldn't it be nice to go from here to Fort Lauderdale without taking your car and getting exactly where you want to go inexpensively and quickly? Every major city like New York, Boston, Los Angeles, Chicago have great public transportation. Why? Because it's necessary to move the people without them spending 5 hours to get to work on the Long Island Expressway. And that's what we need in Florida. So join us at the meeting via Zoom. You can look onto the city and get the link and participate if you so choose. But it's our city, not theirs. And I will do everything I can to keep it our city, not for people to go through us a little more quickly. Thank you.
District 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have one comment tonight because we have a quick turnaround to our next meeting on May 3rd. But in between this Sunday, April 24th, at Quiet Waters Park, which is in District 4, the Youth Automotive Training Center is having their 10th annual car show. They're obviously a worthwhile organization that we have here in our city, and they're supported by JM Family, also in District 4. So this is if you're out and about Sunday, the weather says it's supposed to be nice, come out and just take a look for the car show over at Quiet Waters Park. It's from 10 to 4, by the way, this Sunday. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While on the subject of 10th Street, and I'll be brief, the last MPO meeting, I warned the MPO that I'd be coming forward with the letter that we had submitted to the MPO regarding our concerns with the few sticking points regarding the 10th Street project. Let me just make this clear, and I appreciate Commissioner Parnas, who's been fighting along side by side here with us before he was even in office on this project. This project is going to go through. It is not going to stop. I'll make that very clear. Anyone who thinks it is, after they spent the amount of money that they have, the time they put in there, is taking a Don Quixote type approach to tilting of the windmills. I will say this, and to Commissioner Parnas's point, we need to make sure that we are fighting for the least intrusive project that's going to go to the city of Deerfield Beach. Going to the MPO and saying we don't want this and we need to stop this is going to cause them to say we're being unreasonable. Yep. And they are basically going to turn a deaf ear to the city with the requests that we have. I am confident that the relationships that we built and the time that we spent on this to get this turned around, that we can get FDOT to move forward with some of our demands and requests that we have. And to the point that was said, this is something that has a devastating effect on the city of Deerfield Beach. It's important for us to make sure that what's put in there, that we have some say, some control. We have a limited amount. I want to make sure that we exercise that. So the next MPO meeting next month, I'll have it as a talking point to bring that up to my colleagues on the MPO and make sure that the Metropolitan Planning Organization to get their support to ask FDOT to help bridge the gap on some of the issues that we're having. Which they seem to have taken a approach that is, this is just a standard project, we'll do it by the book, when they've told our residents from the very beginning, this is a unique project and they're willing to be creative. And let's hope that they will do that. I also want to say that we're monitoring Broward County. I've asked the city manager and the city attorney to look into something that's been coming forward, which is the housing issue that we're having here in Broward County, really South Florida, and how it impacts the city of Deerfield Beach. With people not being able to afford houses, because affordable housing is not just what people think if they associate it with Section 8 or anything like that. Affordable housing is really people getting out of college or starting a career or anything that they're doing and trying to get a house below $400,000. It's simply not possible. It's not realistic. This isn't a matter of someone, putting in low-end housing somewhere. Affordable housing, the definition of what affordable housing is, has changed drastically. And there are people that just can't afford it right now. So that means a lot of people are either getting out of their homes or can't afford to get into a home that are renting. And what is being pushed now in Broward, we're watching Broward County to see what position they take on it, because we're very curious to see how they're going to apply enforcement of this, is that residents who are now in an apartment, their lease is coming up, they should be getting, at least in my opinion, a 60-day notice that tells them that their rent's going to increase. You imagine going to someone and saying in 30 days your lease is up, or your lease is up, it will be renewed at a $600 a month increase. I've heard of these stories, and that's going to have a devastating effect on the city of Deerfield Beach, not just our city, but really all of Broward County. I'm glad Broward County is looking at that, and I hope that we do something about that here soon. And if we don't, I think the city would have the option to be able to pass something to require landlords to not only notify the residents in their units 60 days in advance if there's going to be an increase in the rent, but also, and what that increase would be, but also giving them fair notice when it comes to eviction notices. It's very important. This is going to hit our residents really, really hard, and it's only going to get worse. And that's going to create a complete catastrophe for us. The other issue that's at hand with that, that goes hand in hand with it, when it comes to evictions and increase in rents, is people who are in their homes now with homeowners insurance policies. Homeowners insurance, they're requiring you to have a new roof, but I think it's within 10 years. You think about the cost and the supply chain issues that we're having now, the cost of putting a new roof in. People are being rejected and don't have options to get homeowners insurance. Now, it's really nice that our governor's finally decided to actually call a special session to address some of these issues. It's a shame they didn't take their time in dealing with this real imperative issue that I think affects every resident, as opposed to tilting it partisan politic nonsense, in my opinion. And really now they're going to do a special session to focus on this, which I'm really happy about. And I hope we make some progress, because there is a looming cloud out there that I worry about. And it affects everyone from middle income, upper middle income, to the lowest income we have in the city. And that is evictions, it is increases in rents, and it's the ability for people to stay in their homes and to have homeowners insurance on their homes. And if we don't do something, we have limited power in the city, but what we can do, I hope we move forward. But I hope we get some help from the state and the county on this, because I really fear what could happen the next year to our residents here in the city of Deerfield Beach. I do want to thank Commissioner Preston for highlighting one of our alumni, the Packer Rattlers. And while we get praise for bringing the Packer Rattlers back, I want to put the praise where it belongs. We did what was right. There was a problem with the program. In my opinion, it was broken. It's really the people that deserve the praise, but the ones that have restored the pride in the Packer Rattler program. Those are the coaches, the volunteers, parents that have come back, taken control over that organization, and have really lifted it up. And it's back to where it was in its heyday, in my opinion, thanks to those people, not any of us in them. That's just my opinion on it. If we can give them money, that's great, but it takes the people that are running it to do the right thing, and that's what they're doing. So to all of them, I want to thank them, And I look forward to seeing more Super Bowl champions coming up here in the dais that have served.
2 years in a row.
Played in the city of Deerfield Beach. That's pretty cool.
2 years in a row.
With that, yes, you're right. 2 years in a
2
row.
years
we've
in a
had-
row, we had Tampa Bay and then the Los
Let's make it
Angeles.
3, 4, and 5.
Why not?
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.